Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Hemant Prasad, and I represent Quest Info Solutions, a distributor and partner, long-time partner of MariaDB in Asia Pacific. Thanks for being here today virtually. Okay, I think we have a question to get started. May I confirm what's the part 2 of this topic? Okay. So just to share with the audience, this is a webinar series, and we are having 5 parts of this webinar. The first part was high-level overview of MariaDB Enterprise database, of what all MariaDB covers as an enterprise database platform. In very brief, each part of it, the security, the high availability, the deployment, scalability, and so on. But that was very brief. Part 1, we did it last month in June. And then we are touching on each of these important topics one by one every month. So today's webinar, the part 2, is basically to give a deep dive on the high availability and the security of MariaDB Enterprise, and how your modern applications can make use of MariaDB Enterprise to have a scalable, highly available, and a secure app. We will be touching on each of these topics one by one. So, as I said, part 1 was high-level overview of everything that MariaDB Enterprise offers. Part 2 is high availability and security, and there will be part 3 next month in August. And what topic will we have, Kanti, next month? Backup recovery, disaster recovery, business continuity, and so on. So, and then we will have one in September and then one in October. So we will touch on each of these topics in greater details this time around. Okay. Yes, I think you cannot hear anything. We have one of the attendees, he cannot hear anything. Can respond to him that, or let me just, maybe he has to leave and join. One of the attendees having a challenge. All right. Thanks everyone for being here. We will walk you through in next 45-50 minutes about the deep dive of high availability and the security of modern applications using MariaDB Enterprise. So let me start with the speaker's introduction first. So we have a distinguished speaker from MariaDB Corporation, Kanti. She is based in Singapore, and she's been into the database world for, I guess, more than a couple of decades, working with different other databases in the past, like Sybase, etc. And now, of course, working with MariaDB for pretty long. She brings plenty of experience of migrating customers from other databases onto MariaDB, including Oracle to MariaDB migration and so on. And now she plays a role of senior solutions engineer at MariaDB, based out of Singapore. So Kanti will be our speaker for today. I'm just your host. Just for the audience, this webinar is getting recorded, and we will publish this webinar on our YouTube channel, on the YouTube channel of Quest Info Solutions, where you can actually get access in case you want. All right. So one important milestone for MariaDB as a database, as most of you might be knowing, that this is just a fork of MySQL, right? And started by the founder of MySQL, Michael Whiteness, or we call him Monty. MariaDB was born out of MySQL in 29 October 2009. So more than 15 years, MariaDB has been around. Of course, a lot of water has flown since then, and MariaDB has come a long way compared to MySQL. And to go along through this webinar, you will get to learn of what additional capabilities, scalability, high availability that MariaDB offers compared to MySQL, right? You can go to Monty's blog to actually read more about it. The first version was 5.1, and I think we are now at 11 dot something as far as MariaDB's version is concerned. So also, to give you a bit of background about, all of you know that MariaDB is an open source database born out of MySQL. But then, as we know, that a lot of businesses do demand enterprise level availability, support, hot fixes, patches, etc. So while MariaDB Foundation runs the open source version of MariaDB community, there is MariaDB PLC, which is the enterprise organization which covers and provides support for MariaDB enterprise database. MariaDB is being used by a lot of customers. Coming to the slide, Kanti. Just want to mention that there are customers in different banks, whether there are telco companies or whether public sector, etc., or whether service-oriented organizations. So one of the lighthouse in this part of the world is DBS Bank, based out of Singapore, which migrated a lot of Oracle databases to MariaDB, right? So billions of downloads reach via to all the Linux distros, etc. More than 200,000 open source contributors, and headquartered in dual headquarter, basically in Ireland as well as in the US. So that's what MariaDB PLC, or the corporation behind MariaDB Enterprise platform is. Right, and just a quick introduction about us as well. So as I mentioned, my name is Hemant Prasad, and I represent Crest. Crest is not only a distributor and partner, long-standing partner of MariaDB, but is also a silver sponsor of MariaDB Foundation to ensure our commitment to the open source world. So we have been in business, Crest has been in business for roughly about 13 years. It was founded in Singapore, and now we are spread across entire Asia Pacific, Malaysia, Indonesia, even serving customers in the Philippines, Vietnam, Thailand, and also in the western part of the world in US and Netherlands. So we provide MariaDB Enterprise subscription, support, consulting, migration assessment, as well as execution based out of Asia Pacific. So if you need any help with your MariaDB setup, feel free to reach out to our team. All right. So I'll hand over the baton from here to Kanti, and she will walk you through the MariaDB Enterprise platform and the high availability topic, as well as security as we actually go along. And we will also have our another distinguished panelist, Pandi. He is also a senior solution engineer at MariaDB Singapore, and he will assist Kanti with a quick demonstration. Seeing is believing, so I guess not only the PowerPoint presentation which Kanti is making, but Pandi will show you the live demonstration of some of the key capabilities in terms of high availability, failover, as well as security as we go along. So over to you, Kanti, with this.
Thank you, Hemant, for the great introduction. Welcome, everybody. Good afternoon to everyone who has joined this webinar. Thank you very much for your time. So let me start this quick overview of this MariaDB Enterprise Grade platform. I know most of you would have joined the first session of this webinar series, and those people would have got a glimpse of what MariaDB Enterprise Grade platform has to offer. But this is for people who have joined fresh from this series, from this episode onwards. I just want to give a briefing on how enterprise grade platform that MariaDB has to offer, right? So this is the entire ecosystem. At the bottommost layer, if you see, this is the MariaDB Enterprise Core. So this is the place where the action happens. And, you can see the multiple different ways of handling the workloads is possible under one roof. And which is having all the new features, which is AA and ML and every, semi-structured data support, everything is possible under this Enterprise Core engine. And we offer different ways of replicating your environment. That way we ensure the high availability, and that is achieved by the enterprise cluster. And the security wise, we offer you enterprise grade security needs of all different businesses today. So that is where the bottommost box depicts you. And in the middle tier, you see that there is a MariaDB MaxScale, which I'm sure the people who have attended the first session would be aware of. This is a simple proxy, which is very intelligent enough to achieve all that you are seeing on the screen. That includes high availability, SQL-aware read scaling, and everything. So why this is important today? This MaxScale is the person who is going to do the job for us. That includes the high availability as well as security features. MaxScale is an enabler of MariaDB as a core platform to perform the, the needs, which is high availability and security. On top, you see the connectors, which means that all the applications that are built on different languages and tools today is able to seamlessly connect to the MariaDB platform. So we provide all this major platform, connectors to you. So connection with different applications that's coming from, off-the-shelf application or in-house developed application, it's seamless with MariaDB. And on the left-hand side, you see the tools we provide, which is a lot for you to, monitor and manage your environment better. And on the right side, you see the integrations. We integrate with many other applications, which is need of the hour for many of the businesses today. So we don't run as a silo, right? So you have to integrate, the database has to integrate with multiple different platforms. We provide options for you. I don't want to go through every single thing here. You may want to see later on, but these are all the options that is available from MariaDB side as a platform. And as you may be aware, we are certified to run on many of the Linux platforms today available in the market, mainly on the open source world. We support many platforms. And as Hemant mentioned, we run 75% of the Fortune 500 companies today uses MariaDB. And these are all the, few customers we have just mentioned here, but this is not an exhaustive list. Yeah. So let me move on. And the MariaDB Enterprise Platform, it is just to capture what we offer as an enterprise grade and an end-to-end security, which includes the encryption, and it is purely an open source platform. So this has the freedom to scale, the freedom to have expanded potential of availability, performance, high availability, and disaster recoverability. So the enterprise grade offerings with the open source freedom, this is a bundle of together. So the main enterprise features that we want to focus on today would be the security. So that includes the data security and the end-to-end encryption, high availability, and the improved auditing. So I find that these 4 topics, if I cover, this justifies the title, which is high availability and security, that we want to elaborate in detail today. Right. So before I move on, I just want to talk about this heartbeat of MariaDB, which we call it as a storage engine. So this storage engine is the one that does the compute business for you. So as I mentioned to you, all under one roof is possible only by these storage engines, which can, interoperably work together. What do I mean by that? So as you see on the top, the InnoDB, which is enabled to perform your OLTP operations. So you might be having a workload which is transaction intensive. InnoDB is there to support you with that. And column store on the other side, you see, which is mainly for the OLAP applications, which means you might be having an analytical workload also. And you may want to, the OLTP as well as OLAP to work interoperably, right? So MariaDB has you have multiple engines which can talk to each other, and you can build a replication between different engines as well. So that, without compromising on this ACID compliance, you can have OLTP as well as OLAP workloads to work together. So this is a storage engine which MariaDB offers you. So now I told you about this MaxScale, which is going to help us achieve our high availability needs and security needs today. And I just want to brief you through on what MaxScale is capable of doing. And it is just not a simple proxy which blindly does a load balancing and, the job for you. It is an intelligent load balancing. So how does it do it? It is, having a read-write split offering, which means any query that comes to MaxScale, it is able to read through the query and identify whether it is a write operation or a read operation, right? So accordingly, it is able to split the queries and intelligently route them to the write node as well as the read node. So that way your load is well balanced and without compromising on the performance. And it is also helping us with the comprehensive compliance needs. So that is essential of today's topic. To cover our security needs, MaxScale is capable of doing by having a lot of filtering mechanisms, configurations you can do with MaxScale, and that does this job of compliance needs as well. And it does help you with a very ease of database use. What do I mean by this? So today's world, we are going to see about this high availability, right? So you might be having multiple replicas and one master node. And MaxScale helps you with seamlessly failing over and failing back the multiple nodes. So everything is automated with the use of MaxScale. So there is no human intervention here. So that is what you are going to see as part of the demo we will be showing later on. So this is for ensuring the high availability. MaxScale is here to help you with. So let me begin the core topic for this afternoon, which is high availability and data replication options. So if you talk about high availability, so what do you want to achieve? You want to have your data available in all the availability zones or all the sites that they want it to be present, right? So this is what we want to achieve here. So how we want to achieve here? We are supporting you with 3 different options. So one is asynchronous, the other one is a semi-synchronous, and then the third one is the synchronous option. So the asynchronous option, as you may be knowing, so what you have is a primary would be receiving the write request and it keeps going as long as it broadcasts the data to replica. It doesn't wait until the acknowledgement comes from any of the replicas. So that is asynchronous way of replicating. And semi-synchronous is primary would wait for at least one replica to acknowledge back that it has replicated the data, that it has received the data. So that is semi-synchronous. And synchronous is like a round robin fashion. So every, all nodes are always in sync with the data. So this is called synchronous replication. And we also call it as a multi-master clustering in case you want to use all the nodes for writing as well. So today we want to see how MariaDB is offering you multiple solutions in achieving this concept of high availability and data replication options. In a way, we will start this kind of a pictorial representation. This is a representation of a synchronous as well as an asynchronous replication flowing through, right? Onto your left, you see a circle that is a Galera cluster wherein the synchronous replication is happening. And from here, from one of the nodes, data gets replicated onto another replicated node in which the asynchronous replication is happening. At the end of the day, the end users or clients, they connect through connectors, and these are the MaxScale nodes through which they connect, and they do the read-write operations from the Galera. At the same time, there is a different request in your same organization which requires reporting, right? For monthly reporting and quarterly reporting and all these things. And that is happening without intervening into this write intensive operation here. So you distribute the workload across, and this node, even though it is a replica and it is meant for high availability, it is also put to use. That means, your reporting purposes, and if you want to take periodic backups without disturbing this Galera intensive, write intensive workloads, it's possible to do. So that is how in MariaDB's offering as high availability environment, whatever the resources that you invest in for the high availability environments, they are also put to use. They are not silently sleeping and wasting your resources. So let me just give you a briefing on how, it's like, screenshots wherein I explain how you can create a Galera cluster, right? So as you know, Galera cluster works better only with odd number of nodes. It is to avoid the split brain conflict, right? So we always recommend our customers to configure either 3 nodes or 5 nodes, odd number of nodes. As you see on the screen, there are 3 nodes I have selected, and you noted down the IP address of the 3 nodes. And how do you configure it? It is such a simple configuration. As you see on the left-hand side with the, the CNF files which are coming along with the MariaDB bundle, you just configure the parameters that you see onto the left with the required details that are already provided on the screenshots as you see. And if you see, the main important configuration is the GCOM IP address, the cluster IP address, in which you specify all the IP addresses in which your MariaDB cluster is running to be monitored and join the cluster. So this is how you initiate this conversation and this configuration. So once you are done with this, and what happens is, you just have to start the first instance as, the bootstrap instance. So for which, what you have to ensure is you have to make sure all the three nodes are stopped, okay, gracefully. So that is what we want to ensure, so that we begin the first node as a bootstrap instance. So this is how you start. So when you do this way, it is not a normal start. So this way, the Galera new cluster is the command that you use to start. So that makes this first node as the bootstrap node. That means any other instances that are going to join this node will be as secondary nodes. So once that is done, what you do, you just verify. So what you have done now is you just added one cluster, one node for the cluster, right? So you just verify that with this, query, which means you are just checking the cluster size. So here it is saying it has got just one node. So after that, you just start the other MariaDB services, which means the other nodes. And once it is started, because the configuration already has those IP address, defined there, they are able to join. So that means you see that now the cluster size that has increased to the value 3 because they are all started, they join the cluster seamlessly now. So let me just demonstrate how the synchronous replication, and so far we have seen how we have to configure the Galera cluster. Now we are going to see how the synchronous replication flows through for simple operations like, user creation or some DDL installations or, DML operations as well. So now you see in the first, now the three nodes have joined the cluster. So in any of the node, you just do some user creation. As you see on the top screen, you are just creating some users, grant some privileges to that user. From the second node, if you check, from the mysql.user, you are able to see the user appearing there. So that means it is seamlessly integrating all the operations that happens in one node. And at the same time, you try creating a table, inserting data as well. So the actual insertion happens, the create and insert happens on the second node. But you see the query, the data is appearing on this first node as well as third node. So once you configure the cluster, once you attach the clusters, that's it. So it means after that, everything is like, it is synchronously replicating all the operations that you do on every single node. So this is how, the Galera cluster works. It's a simple demonstration. But if you want to just, query the system metadata, information schema, you can query to identify, the IP address, the node information. So this is for you to, manage it. So this is how, MariaDB offers you. So as holistically, if you look at it, so at the bottommost layer, the MariaDB cluster that you see on the left-hand side, this is what we have seen as part of this, screenshots. So that means one MariaDB server, you do operations, it gets replicated everywhere instantaneously. So this is what MariaDB cluster has to provide you with. And as you know, this is running out of InnoDB as the engine. So that means ACID compliance is not compromised here. So, and typically, as I mentioned, odd number of nodes is always recommended as per, the kind of recommendation we give to the customers. Now, going to the asynchronous replication. So far we have done the synchronous replication. But some of the customers, they are not worried about the synchronous way of having the data all the time. What they want is, they can afford some kind of a lag in their replicated environment, but they don't want to compromise on the performance on the writer instance, right? So they want to have some kind of a asynchronous replication. So a basic HA architecture of a, asynchronous replication looks like this. So this is a very, very kind of a frugal architecture, so that, you want to save on the cost. So this means you have just got one max scale on top and you have a primary and two replicas. So this is a very bare minimum kind of an architecture, which is not really recommended, right? So if something goes wrong with max scale, if something goes wrong with primary, you are left with very few options for your HA availability. Now, what would be an ideal data layer? So in case you want to, so if I say the previous slide, that is not the ideal way. So do you think this is ideal? Of course, this is the best architecture, I would recommend. So as you see on the left-hand side, in one data center, you have got 2 max scales. And on the right-hand side, if you presume that as a DR, you have got 2 other max scales. So essentially, you have got 4 max scales, so to back up each other. And at the data layer, you see one primary, in which, as you see that green color, that gives you the read-write options. And you have got 5 replicas, 2 sitting on the DC and 3 on the DR. So this is an ideal environment. So if you are not able to provide that ideal environment, maybe, this is a typical recommended way in which at least you have 1 max scale on your DC and at least 1, max scale on the DR. So these 2 are the at least a recommended way to approach. So now it's demo time, and now Pandi will show how max scale, as I promised earlier, how max scale is capable of doing the failover. And for example, if something goes wrong with your master node, how max scale is automatically promoting one of the replicas as a master, and how it is able to allow the recovered node as a replica to join the cluster later on. Let me stop sharing, and Pandi will take over.
Yeah, thanks, Kanti. Yeah, Pandi, can you please bring up your screen? In the meantime, I just want to remind the audience, we are getting quite a few questions already. Feel free to keep posting your questions as we go through the topic. I know there will be a lot of things that will go through the 45, 50-minute presentation. So feel free to keep posting your question. We will try to either respond to you by writing in the chat box, or we will take it up towards the end of the webinar. So yeah, don't hesitate. Feel free to drop your questions, and we'll be happy to address them. And over to you, Pandi, now. So what we are seeing is the live demo of the max scale. And yeah, I hand it over to you, Pandi, please.
Yeah, thank you, Hemant, and thank you, Conti. So now what I'm going to demonstrate is how the max scale auto failover happens. So max scale is a very intelligent proxy, and it also comes up with a very attractive graphical user interface. So from there you can monitor your database servers. In this setup, I have 1 master and 2 replicas. So these 2 replicas are replicating from the master, and in this max scale also you can have all other functionalities, like you can even use the workspace to directly query your database, and you can also visualize your architecture via max scale. So there are lots of other things also possible using this max scale GUI. So for this demonstration, I'm just going to demonstrate only the failover scenario. So in as I mentioned, there are one primary and 2 replica. So I'm going to bring my master down. So you can be able to see how quick max scale able to detect the master server is down, and it is going to promote the available replica as a master, and then it will also points the slave to the new master. So we will see that in demonstration now. So for example, if you see in this slave running thread, you can see the master server name is MariaDB1 here. So it will be changed when the failover was successful. So for now, I'm going to bring my master server down. Max scale will keep on monitoring all the nodes. So it will detect so it already detected master is down, and it is going to perform the failover. It all happened within a few seconds. So if you see, after a few seconds, it already promoted MariaDB2 as a master, and the slave, which is MariaDB3, will be pointed to the new master MariaDB2. Previously, it was pointing to the old primary MariaDB1. And now, if I bring the old master back, it will rejoin the cluster seamlessly without any issue. So if you see, I already started the old master. It already joined the cluster as a slave. It started replicating from the new master. That's how seamlessly MaxScale will handle the failovers without any manual intervention. On top of that, MaxScale have all other functionalities like Kafka CDC. It is also like a pluggable. So whatever feature you want, you can just
Right.
configure on your configuration. It will move on.
Thanks
So
for the,
thank you.
yeah, very seamless demo, Andy. Right. MaxScale is basically the lifesaver for the DBAs where you can monitor your MariaDB infrastructure. So correct me if I'm wrong, Pandi, that if you can also run MaxScale in active mode. You can also run MaxScale itself as a active passive or master slave setup. Depending upon how much availability do you want, you can have a heartbeat connected between two MaxScale to give you a active setup, and your ODBC, DDBC applications do not need to connect directly to the database. They will connect to MaxScale, and MaxScale will handle all the auto failover, upgrading, downgrading of the masters or the slaves, etc. in a cluster. Did I get it right?
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, absolutely right. Actually, Kanti's next slides are about
Yeah,
that.
that's right.
Like that. Over
Yeah.
to you guys, experts.
Yeah, thank you.
Over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Hemant and Pandi. It was a nice demo. So what Pandi was doing is at the back end, he was just stopping the MariaDB servers, and as you saw, from the GUI, and MaxScale was able to seamlessly, toggle between the available nodes. So now it's very intelligent, right? So it's very helpful, and for DBAs, I'm sure how much it is going to save your lives and night sleeps, right? But the question now still remains, right? What happens if something goes wrong with the MaxScale node itself? What happens if the MaxScale goes down, right? So all these automation will go, it will not be available for you. So we provide you a solution for that as well. As I mentioned, a typical architecture in which at least you should have two MaxScales, one in DC and one in DR, but that should be a way you should decide on if MaxScale goes down, which will become a primary MaxScale to continue to do the automation for you, right? So that is what we introduce a parameter called a methodology called cooperative monitoring, right? So why do we need cooperative monitoring? I have explained to you. The reason is to kind of mitigate any disaster that can even happen to the MaxScale instance itself, right? So as I mentioned here, a typical architecture would be like this. So here you see the primary is always at the leftmost MaxScale. So we want to distribute this workload to the available passive MaxScales if at all something goes wrong with the active MaxScale. So in that case, you should choose the right MaxScale to become the next active, right? So this is how we do it. So how do we achieve it? We have two important parameters to achieve this. Number one is called the majority of running. Number two is called the majority of all. So first parameter is majority of running means in your database server nodes, whatever nodes that are up and running. So that is called the majority of running. So in case some of the nodes go down, the majority of running will go down. So we calculate only whatever is up and running at that time from the database nodes. We call it as majority of running. We use that as a parameter to calculate the number of logs every MaxScale possesses. Okay, so in this mode, the total number of running MariaDB nodes are considered excluding the nodes that are down. So now every MaxScale will be having those number of logs as their primary logs that they possess. So how do they qualify to become a primary? Is based on the calculation of the logs that you see at the bottom. How do we calculate the logs? So what we need to have at any point in time, we should have the number of servers divided by 2 plus 1. You have to round the result to the down. So that means for majority of running, the n servers is the total number of alive servers. But in the next parameter you see on the screen, in the middle of the screen, majority of all. So what does it mean? Irrespective of the node's status, whether it is up or down, we calculate at, as all as one node. So that means any number of nodes you initially configure, you calculate that as the number of servers. And based on the same formula, you identify the number of logs for each max scale. So using this formula, every max scale will have certain number of logs allocated to them, right? So with that, depending on these configurations, so you can either configure as majority of running or majority of all. So I will show you a way of, the possible scenarios for each parameter and how max scale and the configuration handles that in the next slide. So for example, let me start with the majority of running, right? So in this first kind of a picture, so this is a typical architecture that I defined earlier, right? So in the primary data center, for example, you have a primary and you have a replica initially, and there is one max scale. On the DR, you have one max scale and one replica. So for example, the first operation is the primary, in the DC, primary node goes down. So for the max scale, as you see, the amber max scale is the active max scale. So this way, this is a majority of running, right? So what would be the logs here? So it will be 2 by 2 plus 1, which means 2. So max scale should have at least 2 logs. So as you see, max scale 1 has got connections for both primary as well as the replica and the DR. So it is still having the same number of logs. So it means it is still qualified to be acting as a primary. So what it does, it uses its intelligence. So, okay, the primary is down. So it promotes one of the other replica, which is available on the primary DC itself as a primary. So it has the authentication to promote one of the replicas because it is holding enough number of logs, right? The same situation in which both your nodes on the DC go down, right? So what happens? You have got only the majority of running is just one node, right? So it is 1 by 2 plus 1 is just 1. So in this case also, the max scale 1 has enough number of logs, which is just 1. So it is able to connect to that node. So it is able to promote. So that means the existing DR replica is promoted as a primary. So this is how it works. And at the same time, the entire DC goes down. What happens? So there is no access even to the max scale 1 as because the entire DC has gone down. So at this situation, what happens to the primary max scale 2? So far in the other depictions, max scale 2 was passive. So that's why you see it in gray. Now max scale 2 has become activated. So that means it has got still, what is the equation we want to solve here? So number of alive running replica nodes divided by 2 plus 1. So that will be half plus 1 rounded about 1. So this has still had, have the log. So it has the authority to promote the replica as primary. So now the DR max scale acts as an active max scale and it promotes the available replica in DR as primary. So all these mechanisms are, making sure that even something goes wrong with max scale, you are back in business. And the only downside of this majority of running is when something goes wrong with the network connectivity between DC and DR, what happens, right? So even though you have all the data servers, all the nodes are running, so in essence, you have got 3 nodes, but max scale 1, because there is no network connectivity between DC and DR, max scale 1 is able to see only 2 nodes, right? And max scale 2 is able to see just only 1 node. So for them, internally, the available replicas, available nodes are just 2 for max scale 1 and 1 for max scale 2. So the formula works and, they think that they can promote themselves. So both the, max scales become active by themselves and they decide and they, promote both sides as primary. So this way, the split brain happens. So this is how, you have to configure how you want to replace, because it all depends on the number of nodes that you have and number of max scales you provide in the primary and DR. So this is a shortcoming, but the rest of the, operations work well. So accordingly, you can decide which operation you want to, which configuration parameter you want to tune. The next one, which is the most preferred one, which is majority of all. So that means irrespective of whether it is running or it is down, you go ahead and calculate, right? So in this first scenario, the same scenario in which your primary goes down, here it is all majority of all, right? So irrespective of whether it is down or up. So it means here it is 3 by 2 plus 1, which is 2. So MaxScale 1 has access to 2 servers, which is one in DC and one in DR. So it has got 2 logs, right? So it has the authority to promote. So what it does, it promotes one of the replicas in DC, and the other replica and the other MaxScale still, works like passive. The same thing happens, the same scenario, but here what happens, both primary as well as secondary MaxScales becomes passive for the reason it is not able to hold enough active logs because if you see the 2 nodes going down, that means you have only one active log, which means the replica 2 only is active. So that means it doesn't, even both MaxScales are not able to hold enough logs here, so nobody has the authority to promote. So it means there is a failure happening here. And in the third situation, wherein you have again one node going down, in this case the replica going down, it is not affecting the primary in DC. So again the same situation like the first slide, in which MaxScale 1 has the authority because it has enough logs, which is 2, and it is not able to, it doesn't care because there is nothing to promote, there is already a primary running here. And here the network connectivity goes down, right? But here it is a mitigation here, even if you have a majority of all. So that means even though there is no connectivity between DC and DR, MaxScale 1 still works like a primary because it has got 2 logs, which means it is still having the majority of the logs, which means that it can effectively work as primary and replica, but there is nothing it needs to do here. So that means this existing setup works fine, but there is no connectivity between DC and DR. So this way you mitigate the split brain problems with majority of all as a configuration, right? So this is how we try and test through multiple failure scenarios, and MariaDB provides you with a comprehensive solution which is going to really provide you with a near real zero downtime with Galera cluster and asynchronous replication. So let me move on to the comprehensive security that we offer today. So this is the second topic of this afternoon. So this means what we offer as part of our security. As you see from the screen, anything you need as part of the security, we are offering you, right? As you see from the left to the right, we provide you with, kind of encryption at rest, encryption at transit. We provide you with enterprise-grade auditing, which I will be talking in detail later on. And we do provide, extensive authentication and authorization in various different forms. And of course, we do have, user limits on the access of the data. And we provide a lot of limitations with MaxScale filters on query throttling and user throttling limitations and everything. We provide a comprehensive security. And this is how an end-to-end encryption works. How do we offer the encryption? Encryption we offer in the methodology called TDE. So, and that is for the encryption at rest. And at the same time, we do offer encryption in transit as well. So the moment the data gets flowing through from your client until it gets rested in a storage, the entire kind of a travel is completely encrypted. So that is what we ensure our customers. So now again back to demo time. Pandi will demonstrate how this encryption works at rest.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, hope you all can see my screen.
Yeah, Pandi.
So yeah, so in my screen, whatever in the left side, there are 2 instances running. On the left side, the TDE is enabled, and the right side, the TDE is disabled. So how the MariaDB Enterprise TDE works is it helps you to protect your critical data by enabling the data at rest, by encrypting the data files which are stored in your storage. So for this, you need to, as Kanti previously mentioned, MySQL is coming up with lots of pluggable things. So this encryption part is also pluggable. So you need to install a file key management plugin for doing this TDE, as well as we also offer other third-party plugins like HashiCorp Vault and a few others, enterprise level secret management systems. So in this case, it is how to configure is very simple. You need to install the file key management plugin and you need to create few keys. So the whole encryption will be using this key for encrypting the data files in your disk. So whenever a data is queried from the database, it will be decrypted using these keys and shown to the clients. So in this case, if you see, I'm querying a table, so you can see the unencrypted data, because in background, what MariaDB server does is it decrypts the data and shows the data to the client. But how it is stored in the storage level, that makes the difference. So in this case, if you see, all the MariaDB files will be stored in my InnoDB files will be stored in a IBD files. So what I am trying to show is I'm going to using the string function, I'm going to show you the contents of the file which are stored in the IBD files. So whatever you see here, it is totally encrypted. I have the same kind of data in this unencrypted instance also. So if I go back and run the same commands for this instance, it will show the contents of the file like. So here you can able to read the contents of the file, as well as this TDE will also protect even if someone has access to your file system, they cannot be able to decrypt the data files, as well as if someone has access to your backup, they cannot able to even prepare your backup without the keys. So that's how MariaDB protects the data at rest using transparent data encryption. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you
Thanks
very much, Pan. Yeah.
Demo.
Go ahead, Hemant.
That was definitely security point of view. I think that is very, very important. So just to sort of recap, it's not only data rest, but also in data in motion, and also your audit as well as the backup is also encrypted. So even when you are backing up your database, so restoring encryption is ensured, and also the audit, which might reveal a lot of sensitive information. Even the audit is also encrypted to ensure that MariaDB Enterprise is compliant to the highest security policies of your organization. Over to you, Kanti. Just a reminder again, yeah, feel free to put your questions in the chat, and we'll be happy to take it up. We have some veteran in the chat, I think, helping us out with some of the information. Thank you, Faisal.
Thank you.
Over to you, Kanti.
Thanks, Hemant. Yeah, that is what the next topic I was about to start. Thank you for the introduction. Yeah. So MariaDB, on top of the encryption offerings, MariaDB has got to offer you. It is also offering you with audit plugins. So these audits are not like a primitive auditing, which does just a simple login, logout, audit features, right? So today in the financial institution, the compliance and requirement for audit requirements are very, very heavy, right? Especially in the financial institutions. So MariaDB is offering you with enterprise grade auditings. So that means you can audit in the very, very fine grained way, which means at the table level, at the row level, column level, it is possible. So what are the key benefits you have out of enabling MariaDB auditing? So we do have a user activity login. So it is just not simply login, logout. So what the SQL queries that the users are executing. So it is tracking down even the unauthorized access and potential misuse we can track down, and flexible event filtering. So this way you can also selectively do the auditing. As you may all be aware, enabling exhaustive auditing definitely has a toll, right? So it affects the performance, it grabs the resources. So you may have to always be prudent in designing your audit requirements without compromising the performance. So what we provide you is with filtering option. So you can selectively configure the filter so that you determine what is the critical thing that you want to audit. I'm sure, you know, in the trading applications and many other critical applications, there are sensitive tables in which the sensitive data is kept, right? So you may want to focus on only those tables, the activities happening in those tables by enabling the filtering mechanism. And the compliance support, of course, we support all the, standards, and we provide the audit plugins to enable them all, because we provide you with the timestamp, the recorded activities. So that means to enable all the scrutinization, we provide you the standardization. And we provide a JSON log output, so which is really, really helpful for analyzing the logs, because, you know, JSON formatted logs are you can throw it on many other third-party tools for log analysis, including Splunk and Elasticstack and all these things, right? So, which is like a very, very adaptable. And log management system integration, along with other log management system integration, this log can work very well, so that the database administrators, they can evaluate this as one go, right? So you might be having the SQL error logs and SQL slow query logs. Along with that, you can have this audit log as well to have your, analysis. And the destinations, it's a very, very important feature of MariaDB. You have the flexibility of storing the logs into your file system or to your system logs. So that means inside the database itself, you can store if you want to, or you can also store it in the file system. So it's very flexible and, according to your needs. So if we do provide log rotation, which means anytime you want to rotate the log to trim it down and keep it in the deep archive, that is all possible. So this is kind of an exhaustive offering from MariaDB Audit. And I don't think there is anything required beyond these features, and MariaDB as a bundle offers you everything. And
if you need, if you need anything extra this year, happy to write to us. We'll be happy to take it up to the product team. I think one of the requirements that we get from most of the customers is, can you integrate with my SIEM system? So I guess the answer is yes.
And so the authentication and authorization are the keys, right, for every secured environment. I'm sure everybody would understand what is authentication and what is authorization, right? Authentication is the way you scrutinize and make sure the user comes with an authentic credentials. So that is how you authenticate. And authorize means what they can access from inside the data that you possess. You authorize them to use what you have. So that is called authorization. Right? So MariaDB has got authentication, another exhaustive list here. So that means we support all these ways of industry standard authentication mechanisms. And the authorization, which is very unique to MariaDB, we do provide role-based authorization, and a principle of least privilege. So which is very, very essential in a very critical database environment, right? So how do we achieve it? We selectively grant access, and which is all based on roles. So that way, it is also, we restrict the user access in host specific way, and we do provide regular audits. So that means you can consolidate everything as part of the audit. These informations can be captured and audited as well. So what are the benefits you get out of this? So it makes your life easier again, simplified administration, and reduced risk, right? So you have a principle of least privilege by means of distributing the roles, and you allocate the permissions through the roles. So that way you manage it better and improved compliance, right? So you I used to receive a lot of questions when I was a DBA, right? So for big financial institutions, the auditors always ask for screenshots showing that it is compliant. So that means we have to even provide, the auditors are happy when I provide them with the role-based authentication that I provide. So it means we are mitigating the risk here, and it is better scalability, right? So users come and users go, right? So every time you don't have to go and massage the users' privileges and things like that, right? So everything is managed through the roles and least privileges. So that way it is better scalability for you. Yeah, that's the final thing. What I want to touch upon is the innovations that is continuously happening. And in all aspects, irrespective of whether it is high availability or security, MariaDB continues to innovate, right? So in the way MaxScale works, we are still innovating, and new catalog features. These are all in the pipelines, which we are working closely with our community, and enterprise grade platforms are going to soon offer this. That's it.
Right. Thanks a lot for the deep dive. Yeah, no, that was definitely an insightful presentation, and appreciate Fandi for putting up a live demo. Not easy always, but definitely that gives a glimpse to the technical folks that what we are presenting is for real and not just a slide deck. So we come to the end of this webinar. I know we overran by a few minutes because we started late as well. But thanks for sticking back and listening to us. If you have any further queries, let me. I think there are some in the chat. You have the QR code in front of you. To scan and drop your comments, feedback, and if you have any requests for a particular topic you cover, we'll be happy to do it. So yeah, the QR code is on your screen. I'll encourage everyone to scan the QR code and leave your comments and feedback. All right, there's one question I think which is still unanswered is, can we use other engines such as TokuDB? Do you have any comments on that, Kanti?
What is the use case?
Instead of InnoDB, I know there used to be a TokuDB engine in supported by MariaDB. I'm not sure if it is still actively supported.
Yeah.
Sorry, can I answer it?
Yes, please.
Go ahead, Pandit.
Yeah, currently we are not supporting TokuDB in enterprise. As well as in InnoDB, as Faisal mentioned, in Galera, only InnoDB is supported.
Yeah.
Right. So if you have a clustering setup, it's only the InnoDB engine which supports the clustering. And I think we encourage you to maybe migrate from TokuDB to InnoDB, because TokuDB is no more supported in MariaDB Enterprise. I think some of the folks might still be able to make it work in community, but that's not the roadmap for enterprise. The question is MaxScale available on community version only? I think I gave a written response to it that yes, it used to be, but again, the direction is that since MaxScale is evolving as an enterprise tool, enterprise platform, I think the focus is going to be more and more for enterprise. The older version will be available, but the newer releases and newer versions might not be available and won't be available. I think not might, but won't be available in community anymore. Is there any other question which is unanswered? I guess no at the moment. Is MaxScale considered another instance or server? Yes. So MaxScale is a very lightweight piece of software. It can potentially sit on its independent virtual machine or even on your Kubernetes cluster if you're using containerized environments. So it can as well have one or two nodes of your pods, or it can sit in a VM on a Linux. It can also run in the same server where your application is running, in case if you do not want to maintain an additional VM instance just for MaxScale. But the resources requirement for MaxScale can be pretty low. I think it can as well start with like 2 virtual CPU and 4 GB RAM, because MaxScale doesn't store anything. It doesn't really have any business logic in terms of high volume processing, etc. It's a router, it's a proxy. It adds a lot of value in terms of, read, write, split, in terms of routing your transactions, connections, all this auto failover, etc. So it doesn't really need a very heavy duty virtual machine. So either you can have a 2 vCPU, 4 GB RAM machine, or if you don't want to maintain it, then I think you can as well install a instance your application server. Kanti or Pandi, if you want to add anything.
Yeah, that is fine. Yeah, correct. Yeah, it doesn't require any very heavy machines, as well as, it is just a simple lightweight machine. Is good enough. And mainly for the compute.
Yeah.
Power. Yeah.
Thanks. So, right. So now the question is, how about the license? The enterprise subscription, the MaxScale is actually covered within enterprise. So license wise, it's pretty simple. I mean, there's a dual licensing now which MariaDB Enterprise has. Depending upon the usage, we will advise you. The best option. So the license goes by per instance as well, and the license also goes by per vCPU. So depending upon what your business needs on how much you need, etc. I think we can talk whether what is the best cost effective model for you to actually go with enterprise license, whether vCPU is less expensive for you or whether instance-based pricing is less expensive for you. I think we'll be able to help you in that. So what you just need to license is the server, and the max scale will just be a part of it. So the difference between community and enterprise is one, of course, is the max scale and all the capabilities you have seen, including high availability and security. But there is also a monitoring tool which is included, which gives you real-time view of your database in terms of slow running queries and how much the resources using. I think in the next webinar we will try to cover that part. So the max scale, I mean, to simplify it, there is no separate pricing for max scale per se. If you are a MariaDB Enterprise server customer, then it will be a part of bundle, just to keep it simple. Now, just can you switch to the next slide? I think everyone would have scanned the QR code. So yeah. So as we are having this series of webinars today, the second part, there will be a part 3, which will happen on 21st of August. At the same time, you have the QR code on your screen. You can scan that and register for the next topic, which is going to be about the business continuity and compliance with backup, restore, and disaster recovery. And we will also cover the monitoring part, the MariaDB monitoring, detailed monitoring part into that webinar as well. Another question, async DR from Galera better. For HA, we can set up sync replication, but for DR async, yeah, that's right. So you can have a Galera for your production, maybe 3 nodes or 5 nodes, and between your production and DR, it will be an asynchronous replication from environment to environment. Now,
yeah, that's the first picture I showed you. Yeah. Correct.
Exactly. And but let me share our experience. We had a banking customer which had a geo-redundant DC setup. That means there were 2 data centers physically 25 kilometers apart from each other, and they have a fiber optic between both the DCs, and they were running in the same subnet. So we were able to deploy a Galera cluster, a 5-node Galera cluster, split across 2 locations. So there were 3 nodes in DC1 and there were 2 nodes in DC2, and all these 5 nodes were part of the same Galera cluster with the 2 max scale, one in DC1 and one in DC2 sitting on the top of the database. But because it was the same network and there was a fiber optic connectivity between both the DCs, even though they were geographically redundant, your database was highly available at 2 physical data centers. It's possible if the backbone supports it. If you don't have that sort of backbone, then you're right. It's going to be HA in the primary, maybe a single instance or a HA in DR, and then there is async replication there. And so I think, yeah, we don't want to hold everyone anymore. If you have further questions, you had the QR code, you have the email in front of you on the screen now. Drop us an email, visit our website, and we'll be happy to sort of answer your queries. Our team members will get in touch with you. And see you again on 23rd of August, right, Kanti? For the third part of business continuity and DR, etc. Yeah, in meantime, if you have any questions about even either the part 2 or part 3, yeah, happy to drop us a note. And we will also connect with you and give you a link to the webinar recording today. So I thank you once again, everyone. And Pajal, thank you very much. See you soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Kanti.